Hello everyone, I am Piyush Goyal and I welcome you to Voxcel's YouTube channel. So in this video we're gonna discuss about Cambridge IELTS Academic Book 19 Test 1's Reading Passage 3. So we have already discussed Reading Passage 1 and Passage 2. If you haven't watched those videos, you can go and watch those videos. I will give you link in the description or in the I button. So without further ado, let's dive right in. So if you have seen my previous videos, you should be accustomed that how we start our reading passages. So first what we will do is we will read the heading of our passage. The persistence and peril of misinformation. So there in this particular paragraph there must be or there could be given something about how information or how misinformation in fact spread, or what can we do to combat misinformation, why it is persisting for so long, or why we are not able to eliminate misinformation altogether, why the persistence the part is there still. Okay, and what are the disadvantages of misinformation? These kind of things may be given or may not be given, but we can get a fair idea from the heading of this particular passage. Now first what will we do is we will go straight to the first set of questions. Okay, first we need to solve multiple choice questions. So for these particular type of questions I have made short videos also, but if you haven't watched it you can go and watch those videos, but now I will tell you in an overview how to solve it. So if you want like more detailed videos on like reading, listening or writing or speaking, you can contact us, you can email us, or you can go to our website and contact us. We will be happy to help you. We have made one of the most, if not the most extensive course on IELTS for all four modules: reading, listening, writing and speaking. For writing, academic and GT both are included. So if you are struggling to get band 7 or higher, contact us and we will tell you where you are lagging, and you will easily be able to score the desired band scores and get the all elusive golden ticket to complete your dreams. So I will leave the description of website or link of the website in the description rather. So now we will concentrate on this particular reading. So first question: what point does the writer make about misinformation in the first paragraph? So here we have been given the location, so we want to find the point the writer makes about misinformation. Like what point, like what writer thinks about misinformation. Misinformation is relatively recent phenomena, so does the writer think it is like a new phenomena, recent phenomena? B option: some people find it easy to identify misinformation. So for some it is easy to identify misinformation. Misinformation changes as it is passed from one person to another. So this particular information changes from one person to another. Last option: there may be a number of reasons for the spread of misinformation. So there may be few reasons that causes the spread of misinformation. Okay, we will see there may not be mentioned like there are various reasons. Maybe they in the paragraph it may be mentioned like A, B and C are the reasons there is a lot of spread of misinformation. Okay, things like that. Now we will read the first paragraph. Okay, misinformation, both deliberately prompted and accidentally shared, is perhaps an inevitable part of the world in which we live in, but it's not a new problem. So this particular thing cancels out first option, because first option is saying recent phenomena, but from that information it is clear that it is not a recent phenomena but a older phenomena. So this cannot be our answer. Sorry about that. Let me change it. So I will mark it in red. So this cannot be our answer. We will continue reading further. People likely have lied to one another for roughly as long as verbal communication has existed. So they are saying that the people, like, they are prone to lie, they are addicted to lying. So since the dawn of communication, they have lied to each other. Deceiving others can offer an apparent opportunity to gain strategic advantage, to motivate others to action, or even protect interpersonal bonds. So here they are saying why people lie. Moreover, people inadvertently have been sharing inaccurate information with one another for thousands of years. So people are sharing misinformation with one another for like thousands of years. So if you look at the options, so some people find it easy to identify misinformation. There is no mention of this particular option. So misinformation changes from one person to another. There is no mention of this, but they have said there are number of reasons for the spread of misinformation. What are the reasons why people spread misinformation? To gain strategic advantage, to motivate others to action, or to even protect interpersonal bonds. They spread misinformation, meaning to say they lie. So from this particular thing we can understand this should be our answer. So D is our answer for this. Moving on to the next question. What does the writer say about the role of technology? So we have to find the role of technology now, and what are the thoughts of writer on it. It may at some point provide us with solution to misinformation. It can provide solution to misinformation. It could fundamentally alter the way with the way in which people regard information. It can change the way people talk about or think about information. It has changed the way in which organization use misinformation. So it means something has already happened. Use of misinformation, the way organizations use misinformation, it has made it easier for people to check whether information is accurate. So this has already happened. So if you look at the grammar, C and D options are saying something has already happened, and A and B are basically future references. So for multiple choice question, one question will always be after first, like second question will always be after the first question. So we will continue reading. However, we currently live in an era in which technology, so here is our word, enables information to reach larger audience distributed across the globe, and thus the potential for immediate and widespread effects from misinformation now looms larger than in the past. So here they are saying there is a potential for immediate and widespread misinformation. It is now bigger, the threat is now bigger than in the past. It's not like there is no solution till now. So if we do not have any solution, so obviously till now organization use misinformation. So accurate or inaccurate, there is no mention of that right now. Let's see. Yet the means to correct misinformation might over time be found. Okay, so now we are hoping that over time we may be able to find something or the means to correct misinformation to in those same patterns of mass communication and of the facilitated spread of information. So means of information might over time be found, like we haven't found anything yet, but in future there are chances that we may be able to combat this particular problem. So from this we can easily understand at some point technology may help us and provide with some sort of solution to combat misinformation, but right now we do not have anything to combat it. And if I talk about B, C and D, there is like no mention of anything. Okay, I will just mark red here. So these options cannot be our answer. So there is no mention of these things. 29th question. What is the writer doing in the fourth paragraph? So now we know these are our locator word. We need to read the fourth paragraph. So A option, comparing the different opinions people have of misinformation. So we are comparing different opinions about misinformation, explaining how the effects of misinformation have changed over time. So we are trying the effects have changed, how the facts have changed over time, outlining which issues connected with the misinformation are significant today. So we are trying to understand which issues are significant and which are not significant today, describing the attitude of policymakers toward misinformation in the media. So we are trying to describe what policymakers think about misinformation in the media, like are they concerned or are they indifferent about this particular thing. Okay, so we will read forward. We will read from this particular paragraph now. The main worry regarding misinformation is its potential. Okay, sorry, we needed to read fourth paragraph. 1, 2, 3, 4. So this is our fourth paragraph. At least 3 observations related to misinformation in the contemporary mass media environment warrant the attention of researchers, policymakers, and really everyone who watches television, listens to the radio, or read information online. So this is the mention of policymakers, but there is no mention of their attitude towards misinformation in the media. So we have given that there are at least 3 observations related to misinformation. First of all, people who encounter misinformation tend to believe it, at least initially. So they are saying the first point is people who encounter misinformation, they believe it, at least initially. Like after some time they might be able to distinguish between correct information and misinformation, but first when they hear it, they believe it. Secondly, electronic and print media often do not block many types of misinformation. So media do not block misinformation before it appears in content available to larger audience. So they are not worried about spreading misinformation. Thirdly, countering misinformation once it has enjoyed wide exposure can be resource intensive effort. So third problem is that if misinformation spreads, so countering it consumes a lot of resources. So it's a resource intensive effort. So you have to put in a lot of money to promote that particular video in which you are saying that previous video or previous article contained some sort of misinformation. So it is resource intensive effort. So these are the 3 problems that are mentioned. So first option, comparing different opinions people have of misinformation. So there is no comparison of information in the fourth paragraph. Explaining how the facts of misinformation have changed. There is no comparison of past and present. We are only talking about the present. Outlining issues which connected with misinformation are significant today. So there were 3 issues mentioned. So this is our answer. Let's see if I can make it green. Yeah, this is our answer. D option, describing the attitude of policymakers toward misinformation in the media. There is no mention of their attitude toward misinformation. So C is our answer. Hope it is clear. So moving on to the next question. What point does the writer make about the regulation in the USA? So this is our locator word, the USA, and let's just say regulation. So whether we in whichever paragraph we will find these 2 words, we will try to find our answer there. FDA, this is also one of our keywords. The guidelines issued by the FDA need to be simplified. So whatever the guidelines or the rules of the FDA are, they need to be simplified. Okay. Regulations does not affect people's opinions of new prescription drugs. So whatever the rules, it does not affect people's opinion of new prescription drugs. The USA has more regulatory bodies than most countries. So USA has more regulatory bodies than most other countries. Regulation fails to prevent misinformation from appearing in the media. So this particular thing fails so to prevent misinformation appearing in the media. So meaning to say it does not serve its intended purpose. Let's see where FDA and USA is written. Until and unless I found these two words, FDA or the US, I will read quickly because I do not need to read other information because it is not connected with this particular question. But if you want to read so that you can use that particular knowledge for the rest of the questions, you can. But if you don't want to read, it's up to you. We will not read that carefully. We will try to read these two words, FDA and the USA. Knowing what happens when people initially encounter misinformation holds tremendous importance for estimating potential routine. Okay, I am not able to find USA or FDA here. Okay, this is the name of a person. What we will do is we will look at other questions also. This is blank. Okay, there is no writers to be found, but for true false or even maybe this person may be needed, so we will mark it. And this is also the name, but not FDA or the USA. Describe human with continued prediction that only recently tested in the robust way. Desk argued a person answered Spinoza. Okay, this is the name of the person. We are trying to find FDA or the USA. This is the name of a university, name of a person at this particular university. Supported account. Okay, we don't need this information right now. Even momentarily veteran to true or false. Okay, we don't need this information. Okay, here is the FDA I have found. Here is the United States. Okay, now let's see. We will read this paragraph carefully. What about our second observation? The misinformation often can appear in electronic or print media without being preemptively blocked. So here they are telling about misinformation misinformation appearing in electronic or print media without being preemptively blocked. So preemptively means doing something beforehand so that to stop that particular thing. In support of this, one might consider the nature of regulatory structures in the United States. Regulatory agencies here tend to focus on the post hoc detention of broadcast information, meaning to say they are not using preemptive methods. They are taking actions after damage has been done. Organizations such as Food and Drug Administration (FDA) offer considerable monitoring and notification function, but these roles typically do not involve preemptive censoring. The FDA oversees direct-to-consumer prescription drug advertising, for example, has developed mechanisms such as bad ad program through which people can report advertising in apparent violation of FDA guidelines on drug risk. Such program, although laudable and useful, do not keep false advertising off airways. So these programs are unable to keep false advertising off the airways, meaning to say off like media. In addition, even misinformation that is successfully corrected can continue to affect attitude. So even if you correct misinformation, it will still be in circle in the media. People may still use it like to fool other people to gain more views, so it can still affect attitudes. So if we talk about the guidelines issue simplified, there is no mention about the guidelines needing to be simplified. There is no mention of attitude towards new drugs. The USA has more regulatory bodies. There is no comparison of such kind. So obviously what we are left with the option. So this will be our answer. So this should be our answer. The regulation fails to prevent misinformation appearing in the media. So here it is written, do not keep false advertising off the airways. So this is our answer. Okay, moving on to the next question. Now we will solve this particular. So these types of, you can say summary, these type of fill in the blanks in simpler terms, students find it the most difficult because most of the times these words, these exact words will not be given in the paragraph. Instead you will be given synonyms, and most of the time students are not able to find synonyms, and maybe the paraphrasing, teachers may or the examiner may have used paraphrasing in these particular questions. So instead of constant conflict, they may write something like there were like ongoing wars, something like that. So you have to understand what it means in the broader terms. So to solve these type of questions, first you need to read all the options, and if you are not able to understand all the options or like almost all the options, you will not be able to understand where they are given or how they have been paraphrased. So first, constant conflict, quite easy. Additional evidence, so there will be like more evidence for this particular thing. So what happens when people encounter misinformation? So there will be like more evidence to support our claim. Different locations, easy words. Experimental subjects, so here subjects can or I think may be referred to people on which some experiments are being done. Short period, extreme distrust, so we are not trusting anything, it's not quite extreme level. Frequent exposure, mental operation, dubious reason, different ideas. So they are quite simple words. There is nothing too complicated about this. So first what we need to do is we will read the first blank and we will try to find the location. So although people have something to misinformation, there is debate about precisely how and when we label something as true or untrue. Okay, there is no locator word. The philosopher Descartes and Spinoza. Okay, these are our locator words. We have like even marked those words because when we were skipping that particular paragraph, so we were underlining like names or dates, so that if we need it again for like other set of questions, we can easily find them. So I know in which paragraph they are. So this particular information, 31st number question, will obviously be before this 32. So now I will read 31st question. Although people have something like to misinformation, there is debate about precisely how and when we label something as untrue or true. So let's see, this is also keyword true or untrue. So we have to, there is debate about precisely this. Although, so this opposite we have to find information. So Descartes, so here it is, René Descartes, Baruch Spinoza. So if I'm mispronouncing the name, I'm sorry in advance, because I may be mispronouncing them again, because I will need to read these names again. Knowing what happens when people initially encounter misinformation holds tremendous importance for estimating the potential for subsequent problems. Although it is fairly routine for individuals to come across information that is false, the question of exactly how and when we mentally label information as true or false has generated philosophical debate. So there is debate about true or untrue, falling mean untrue. So we know the question answer should be in this particular sentence. So we will read the question again. Although people have dash to misinformation. Okay. Although people, it is fairly routine for individuals to come across information that is false. Like misinformation, they come across fairly routine. So it is quite like routine of people to come across misinformation. So although there is constant conflict, additional evidence, there is no mention of that. Different location, experimental subject, short period, extreme distrust, frequent exposure. So frequent exposure just means fairly routine. So although people have frequent exposure to misinformation, it is grammatically correct also. So we will write G here. Sorry about that, I will correct it. So we will write G here. Okay, moving forward, the philosopher Descartes and Spinoza had dash about how people engage with information. So we need to find what they had. Okay, if I had to guess, so let's just say if you don't have enough time to read the all everything, what you can do is you can take educated guess, because some options will not like fit here because they will not be grammatically correct. Philosophers A and B had dash about how people engage, had constant conflict about how people engage, not that grammatically correct, had additional evidence about how, yes it can be, had different location, no, no this cannot be answered, had extreme distrust, it can be, mental operation cannot be, dubious reason, had different ideas about, yeah it can be J also, but I have to read about it. So here your answer to the second will always be after the first one. So we will read now from here. The dilemma is neatly summarized by contrast between how the 17th century philosopher René Descartes and Baruch Spinoza described human information engagement. So there was a contrast, okay, between these two people. So if there is contrast, okay, between these two people, so obviously there is some sort of differing opinions. So let's see, with conflicting, so here it is mentioned clearly that only recently have been empirically tested in robust way. So there were conflicting predictions, so there were contrast between these two people. So obviously we will say contrast different ideas. So we will mark here J. So this is how you have to like understand infer the information. You cannot assume anything, you have to infer the information given in the text. Now for the 33rd question, while Descartes believed that people accept or reject information after considering whether it is true or not, Spinoza argued that people accepted all information, then countered and by default misinformation, and did not verify or reject it until afterwards. Moreover, so what moreover means? Moreover means additionally, mean you say after that. So we will find this information after this. Spinoza believed that distinct dash is involved in these stages. So there should be some distinct of something that is like involved in these particular thing. Let's see what he believed. So we will read after that where it is. Okay, this is our answer to the previous question. Descartes argued that a person only accept or reject information considering truth or falsehood. We argued that people accept all this in recent decades. Okay, sorry, I will read. Spinoza argued that people accept all information by default and then subsequently. Okay, so subsequently just means more, moreover, like second step after that. Okay, so this was our first, and after that like moreover, verify or reject it through a separate cognitive process. I will read it again. Spinoza argued that people accept all encountered information or misinformation by default. So it was here. Spinoza argued that people accepted all information, then counted and by default misinformation, did not verify or reject it until afterwards. Subsequently or moreover, Spinoza believed that a distinct dash is involved. So Spinoza argued that subsequently verify or reject it through a separate just mean distinct different cognitive process. So cognitive process is involved. For cognitive process, you can pause the video and try to understand which is the best word for this. So cognitive just related to mind, and for mind best is mental operation. So for 33 our best bet is H option. Okay, moving forward, recent research has provided dash for Spinoza's theory, and it would appear that people accept all encountered information as if it were true, even if this is for an extremely dash, and do not label the information as true or false until later. So we will focus on 34th. Recent research has provided with something, like has provided. So it's quite easy to understand. Basically, what recent research will provide evidence, obviously, but we will see if it has provided us with any evidence. So we have understood this in recent decades. So recent decades, obviously meaning to say nowadays. So recent researches, empirical evidence from recent teams. So they have provided us empirical evidence. So basically evidence they have been provided from these two particular things, and has supported Spinoza's account. People appear to encode all information as if it were true, or even if only momentarily. So this is our second answer. But first let's mark the first answer. So first answer was empirical evidence. So for this particular option we know additional evidence, and our answer to this particular will be B. Clear? Now for the next question we were reading. So they accept all encounter information as if it were true, even this is for an extremely dash and not label until later. So in the beginning, like initially what they do, and people appear to encode all information as if it were true, even if only momentarily, and later tag it true or untrue. So this is for later, but for that particular moment they say it is true, even if it is for that particular moment. Okay, and for this we can know constant conflict, additional evidence. We have written that there is like momentarily, not different location, short period. Momentarily means for short period of time. So our answer to this will be E. Okay, next question. This is consistent with the fact that the resources for skepticism and the resources for perceiving and encoding are in dash in the brain. So we have to find something that is in the brain. Okay, so this will be the keyword skepticism, and the sources for perceiving and encoding are in dash in the brain, in parts of the brain, in the different parts in the brain, things like that. Let's see if I have to like make a guess. In constant conflict, in different location in the brain, yes, it can be C. In extreme, in mental or deepest region in the brain, in different ideas habitat. So I think C is the best bet here, but we will read it in the paragraph before marking it. So a pattern, okay, so later to a pattern that seems consistent with the observation that mental resources for skepticism. So these are the two spelling. This is like American spelling, and that in the question is British spelling. So but it means the same, doubtful, physically reside in different parts of the brain. So we know it resides in the different parts of the brain, and then the resources used in perceiving and encoding. So these are our other keywords. So different parts of the brain, so are in different locations in the brain. So our best bet is C option. So this is how you can solve these questions. So let's just say if you are not if you're running short of time, okay, if you don't have enough time to read the paragraphs and you have left these questions for the very last, until very last, and if you want to like make guessworks, but try to make educated guesswork, so mark those options which are grammatically correct. So if you are marking 2 or 3 options for one particular blank, and if you have few minutes left, you can read that particular information and you will be able to narrow it down to one. So moving on to the next set, last questions, 37 to 40. So we have to mark yes, no, not given. Be very careful, do not write true, false or not given, because it is very probable that you will be marked wrong, even if you are like marking true instead of yes and false instead of no. Not given will be not given, obviously. It is more often than not, or there are more chances than not that you will be marked as incorrect, because if you're not able to read the instructions and follow the instructions, what else are you gonna do? Okay, we'll read the first question now. 37th. Campaigns designed to correct misinformation will fail to achieve their purpose if people are unable to understand them. So we have to now talk about campaigns which are designed to correct misinformation. So they will fail to achieve their purpose if people are unable to understand them. So when the answer will be yes, if the campaign will fail to achieve its purpose, its mission, if people are not able to understand this particular thing, when it will be no. But if the campaign will succeed even if people are not able to understand these campaigns, when it will be not given if there is no mention of its success or failure. Okay. Okay, now what will we do? We will have to read from the beginning because we don't know. But here, if you have read it carefully, you know there is no mention of campaigns. Okay, there is no mention of campaigns. Here is also there is no mention of campaigns. Okay. So we have, I think, read somewhere about campaigns. Okay, there is mention of campaign here. Okay. So this leads to our third observation. A campaign to correct misinformation, even if rhetorically compelling, requires resources and planning to accomplish necessary and reach frequency. For corrective campaigns to be persuasive, audience need to be able to comprehend them. So here is our location. So for corrective campaigns, like campaigns which are intended to correct something, okay, corrective campaigns to be persuasive, meaning to say, in other words, in similar terms, it can be related to being successful. So because if you are not able to persuade someone, you are not successful in doing something that you wanted to do. So if corrective campaigns should be persuasive or needs to be persuasive, audiences need to be able to understand them. Comprehend them means understand them. So if they are not able to understand them, you will not be able to persuade them. So in simple terms, our answer to this question is yes. So if you want them to be persuasive or successful, in other terms, audiences need to understand them. Comprehend them means understand them. 38. Attempts to teach elementary school students about misinformation have been opposed. So now we are trying to teach elementary school students about information, and this thing has been opposed. Let's see. After that we will start reading. Okay, which require either effort to frame messages in a way that are accessible or effort to educate and sensitize audience to the possibility of misinformation. That some audiences might be unaware of the potential or misinformation and also judge the utility of media literacy efforts as early as elementary school. So this is the mention of elementary school. Even with journalists and scholars pointing to the phenomena of fake news, people do not distinguish between demonstrably false stories and those based in fact when scanning and processing written information. So there is no mention of attempts of educating children of elementary school, and there is no mention of any opposition. But before this paragraph, we will read the next question. It may be possible to overcome the problem of misinformation in a relatively short period. Okay, so I will read this. Maybe some elementary school information is given here, but if the information is not here, we will say answer is not given. Sorry, we live at a time when widespread misinformation is common. Yet at this time, many people also are passionately developing potential solutions and remedies. The journey forward undoubtedly will be long and arduous one. So journey to correct misinformation is long and arduous one. So here it is saying it may be possible to overcome the problem of misinformation in a relatively short period of time. No, it is long. So the journey the journey is long, it is not a short journey. So obviously if we have found the answer to this particular question, this answer will be not given. Now to the 40th question. So here it is saying problem is short period, but the question is saying the journey forward is long and arduous one. So for solution and remedies, okay, for particular forward for misinformation. Next question, the last question. The need to keep up with the new information is hugely exaggerated in today's world. So we have to keep up with new information, and this particular need is hugely exaggerated in today's world, meaning to say it is made bigger than it needs to be. So we have to find that whether when the information will be true, when yes the information, the need to keep up to date or the need to keep posted or updated is quite important or significantly important in today's world. When it will be false, when the need to keep yourself up to date is like not that important, not that significant or minimal, something like that. When it will be not given, when the importance of keeping yourself up to date is not given, like whether it is very important or not that important. Okay, let's see, we will read after that. Future remedies will require not only continued theoretical consideration but also the development and maintenance of consistent monitoring tools and recognition among fellow members of society that claims which find prominence in the media that are insufficiently based in scientific consensus and social reality should be countered. Misinformation arises as a result of human fallibility and human information needs. So here it is mention of our needs, that we need to like keep ourselves up to date. To overcome the worst effects of the phenomena, we will need coordinated efforts over time rather than any singular one-time panacea we could hope to offer. So there is no mention whether the human information needs are significant in today's world, like compared to the past, or it is not that important. So sorry about that, we will say not given. Okay, first we will check our answer, then we will give you some outro. DACD, okay, DACD, okay, GJHBEC, GJHBEC. Yes, not given, no, not given. Yes, not given, no, not given. So this is how this reading should be solved. Not only this reading, if you see other videos on our channel, we have posted other videos of other Cambridge books as well. So these videos will tell you that the way we have solved these particular questions, the way does not change. Questions will change, paragraphs will change, information will change, but the way we analyze information, we process information will not change. And if you want to learn these things in more detail, you can join our course. We provide both online and offline coaching, and you can join our course. You can mail us. I will leave the link in the description. We have, like I think I have already told you in the beginning, we have made one of the most, if not the most extensive course on IELTS, and we will be happy to help you secure your dream and get your desired band scores. And I will see you in the next video. Till then, take care and goodbye.